I'll share my screen. All right, can everybody see the treasurer slide? Okay, thank you. All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. First, congratulations on being elected treasurer. Though it sounds like it is not so much a congratulations for all, it is still an honor to serve on the executive team. Um, as treasurer, you are the club's accountant. You are responsible for managing the bank account, collecting dues, and if applicable, submitting forms to world headquarters. So in this session, we will discuss the treasurer role, the treasurer responsibilities, and treasurer resources. And then hopefully by the end of this training, everybody will be able to identify their role, fulfill their responsibilities, and find the resources that help all of us. All right. So what is the essence of the treasurer role? Um, let's see, you can either unmute and say something out loud or put it in the chat. I'll give you a hint. I already said the basic answer.
You keep the books, definitely.
Yes.
And it's a little bit trickier. There are rules around what the money, the club funds can be spent on. So anything anything that you spend money on, you have to keep track of. You have to make sure that everybody pays their dues. There's different ways of, if there's self-pay, it's a lot easier. If it's not, then you have to submit the dues to the uh, Toastmasters International. It makes it difficult because Toastmasters International has renewals either yearly or every 6 months, ending in the end of March or the end of September. So if you don't organize how the dues are paid, then you have to keep track of all this and who's still owing some dues because they joined. So it becomes a little bit tricky for this treasurer role unless you can streamline and bring it into, lasso it, I guess, and bring it bring it into the way that you want to manage it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. And that's a good point that there is the addition of self-pay. It's still relatively new. I'll call it relatively new. Um, that you can you can enable self-pay and allow all members to pay their own Toastmasters International dues directly through their website, or you can disable it if you feel that that would be less beneficial for your club. It's important to point out with self-pay that Toastmasters International does not currently have a system in place to collect club dues. So many clubs have dues on top of the $60 for 6 months for Toastmasters International. So if you do turn on self pay and you have additional club dues, you will have to collect those separately. And with that, I find it even more important to keep track of who's paying those club dues because Toastmasters will not be able to tell you that. All right. And what are you? Is it Jenny? Is that how you pronounce your name? Or Jeannie?
Yep, either way.
Okay. Which do you prefer?
Jeannie.
Jeannie. Okay. Um, so what are the responsibilities of the treasurer? Jeannie already went over most of this. Can anybody think of anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
to attend club executive meetings and also to attend area council meetings and also to do training.
Yes. Um, yeah, I think there's one more thing that nobody has mentioned, and that is pay bills. If your club has any accounts that they use, any regular expenses, for example, Dungeons and Toast, we have a Zoom account that we have to pay annually. So it is the treasurer's responsibility to make sure that that gets paid. If somebody else is paying it, they must be reimbursed, uh, and so on for that. According to the club constitution and standard bylaws of Toastmasters International, the role of treasurer, the treasurer is responsible for club financial policies, procedures, and controls. The club treasurer receives and disperses, with the approval of this club, all club funds, pays to Toastmasters International all financial obligations of this club as they come due, and keeps an accurate account of all transactions. The club treasurer shall make financial reports to this club and to the club executive committee quarterly and upon request, and shall transmit the accounts and all undistributed funds to the successor in office at the end of the club treasurer's term. So that's just Toastmasters International's definition. Your actual day to day activities as treasurer may vary, especially according to the club you serve. Especially now, since the pandemic, we have a lot more online only clubs, we have hybrid clubs, we have in person only clubs. Each has a slightly different nuance when it comes to collecting dues and serving as treasurer. But the bottom line of all of it is make sure that you are supporting the club's mission in your role. All right, treasurer responsibilities can be broken down into three categories: the club meeting, outside the club meeting, and the executive committee. Club meeting responsibilities split into two types: before club meetings and during club meetings. Before club meetings, you may need to prepare a financial report. You don't need to do this before every meeting, but if you are presenting financials during the business portion of the meeting, you definitely want to make sure that you have something prepared beforehand to break down the finances. An example of this might be presenting a club budget in the beginning of the Toastmasters year, or proposing an additional expense during the year that wasn't already included in the budget and therefore needs to be voted on. Right. Move that there. Okay. For during club meetings, you may need to collect membership dues and report on club finances. As mentioned, reporting on club finances will be scheduled during the club business portion of the meeting and does not need to be done every meeting unless that's something that your club does to make your life a lot harder. Some clubs are like that. During the club dues renewal period, I found it most effective to remind members about dues during the club business portion, which is at the end of the meeting for the clubs I've been a member of, and then I'll collect the dues after the meeting. Sometimes you may want to reach out to individual members by email or other established communication methods to remind them to pay dues. As Jeannie mentioned, with some of the newer clubs, some of the clubs that don't have as much of a challenge with membership, this may not fall into your responsibilities. However, it's a good opportunity to find out why a member hasn't renewed yet. It could be something as simple as they thought they did. There's no point of losing that membership number of one extra person because they thought they paid and they didn't. It also might be that they did pay and you just missed it in your notes. It's also a good chance to get feedback for the rest of the executive team, maybe the VP of membership, if members are choosing not to renew for specific reasons. It's a good opportunity to find out those reasons. Let's see. How many of you have been treasurer before? I realize I can only see some of you. Okay. Um, so for treasurers who are experienced, or new treasurers with ideas, what are some strategies you might use as treasurer to make sure membership dues are submitted on time? Please unmute.
I can go.
Yeah.
Um, one of the talks, our Toastmasters talk, is about membership, how to renew. We do have turned on self-pay, so it's just easier to manage, especially where taxes are due or whatever, because not all states have the same tax applied. And now on anybody who's Canadian, there is going to be a either a GST or an HST tax put on your membership dues. So if you haven't anticipated that, now you're going to have possibly even 13% additional on that the club has to find and bring forward. So it's just easier to have the person um, register or self-pay. And we have a talk about it. I send out an email to all membership, reminding everybody with links to for club dues as well as how to pay, a step-by-step on how to pay. We remind everybody, the VP of membership sends out an email to those that haven't by mid-month, by mid-September or mid-March that haven't renewed, reminding people to renew. And then the president sends out an email after the end of the month, and we follow up with each person to find out why they're not renewing, if we can help them. For example, we had a member that had run into some financial problems, so another member paid for their dues for a 6-month period until they got on their feet. Just things like that. If the members love to be part of part of the group, so if you really want to be there, let's see how we can help you still continue with your membership even during these tough times. Like COVID was bad, and now we're running into the same problem with some members that still love to be part of the group, but are having financial difficulties to make ends meet. So those are some of the things that we do. We make it very personal for them, but it is self-pay on our part, so it makes it easier on my part. I'm just a little bit lazy in that area.
That's good. And that's a really good point of why self-pay is beneficial, especially to the hybrid and online clubs that have some international members. Does anybody else have any strategies they want to share? Okay. I will say for me, I would to follow up on what Jeannie was saying, self-pay was harder for me as treasurer in a larger club because in my own version of laziness, it was easier to keep track of who paid all of their dues if I uh, could see the money going myself. However, our current treasurer found the opposite to be true. So it's really a matter of what makes sense to you as the individual. Also, it was a great point bringing up that some people don't renew because of financial hardship. It's a really good opportunity to figure out what can you do to keep that member engaged. Financial hardship is often temporary, and there are usually solutions that can be implemented to keep that member part of your community, part of your club until they get on their feet again. Yes, Jeannie.
Um, One of the things that I find most like a big obstacle, I guess, is that when we have club dues, there are so many rules that Toastmasters International puts on those club dues that we as a club have collected.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't spend it on this. Like we want to get Airtable to manage our membership and dues and whatever, and we couldn't use the club dues for that. So there are those rules, and our solution was to split our club dues are $15 or $30 a year, right? So $20 is regular club dues that you pay, and then $10 is a donation, is considered a donation or a grant. So we have a separate fund that we keep track of that are for things that we can spend the money on whatever we want. And the club dues that are ruled by Toastmasters International are we use that money for what is allowed.
That
So
makes sense.
that's a separate.
Yeah,
So
that's a good strategy. I can't speak on that from a Toastmasters standpoint, but uh, that it's definitely a good way to come up with a solution for those limitations. And when we get to the end, I'll share resources of where you can find those guidelines for what club dues can and cannot be used for. All right. So outside of the club meeting, responsibilities include preparing a budget, providing the bank with a bank signatory card, collecting and paying dues, or enabling self pay and collecting club dues, submit a new member applications. This may vary according to your club. For Dungeons and Toast, the VP of membership would start the application in Toastmasters International website, and the treasurer will then go in and pay the dues to complete the application. You treasurer will also issue checks for club expenses, keep financial records, present financial reports, submit club accounts for audit. This has not come up for me personally. Attend executive committee meetings, reconcile deposits, expenditures, and cash on hand, ensure the club meets government tax regulations. This also will vary by state. So California has some extra requirements for bank accounts. So you'll want to make sure that you are following the guidelines according to where your bank account is based out of if you're an online club. You will also receive financial correspondence and prepare for audit committee. Now, all of these things are going to vary by club, vary by state, as I said. So make sure you know what's specific to your club in your state. And if you have questions, always ask, whether you're asking the rest of the executive team, the former treasurer, district leadership, there's always somebody to ask. So now on to the executive committee responsibilities. Again, you will need to prepare a budget, present financial reports, submit club accounts for audit, and work with the executive committee on a club success plan. All right. Please submit in the chat, what are the most important responsibilities you have as treasurer? Even if it's obvious, please just write something in the chat. Yes, collect dues. Pay bills. Keep track of money. Training. Budget. Yes, these are all great. Yeah, so we just talked about how your club might sign up new members, whether that's a combination of you and the VP of membership or just you as treasurer. Meetings. Yes, finding your successor. I find it helpful if you start earlier rather than waiting till the end to find a successor. Maintain the club bank account. Okay. Yes, those are all excellent examples. Let's see. So let's pick one of them. All right. I'm going to call on someone. If you can't use your mic, let me know in the chat, but I will be calling on people randomly for an activity. We'll start with Vicky. I would say pick one of the responsibilities listed in the chat and answer these questions for us to the best of your ability.
Just pick one.
Yep.
I'll pick who is available to help you.
Oh, I mean,
And
one of the responsibilities we listed in the chat.
oh, okay. I think find your successor
Okay.
is important because you can make them even the assistant or deputy treasurer. And that way they're understanding that they need the signature card and everything and how to do a budget and how to look for what you're doing. So I definitely think finding your successor early helps when you get to club officer roles to be filled in the spring.
Yes. And then for the questions on the slide, so you answered, I guess, well, you kind of answered how, and when. Who is available to help you with that?
Everyone, sorry, everyone
Yeah.
is available to help you.
Um, and are there any materials or resources you would use with that?
Well, I know TI has a lot on their website that you can use, but if you're having a successor, the person before you will give you some of the resources and materials. Definitely, they'll have the materials that you need to use.
Yes.
So that it's passed on. Usually, I always organized it in a nice folder or a nice little box so that we could keep even a history of everything we've done.
Yes. Excellent. All right. Let's see. We'll do one more. Derek, will you please pick one of the responsibilities and answer the questions?
Yeah, I would pick keep track of money coming in and going out. And to fulfill this, I would, well, the previous treasurer just showed me his process 2 nights ago. And so he has a Google Sheets and Google Drive where he kept track of the people's dues and the budget. And so I'm he hasn't given me access to them yet, but once he does, I'll probably follow his lead and um use those tools, Google Sheets and Google Drive, to just keep track of everything. And in terms of other questions, I mean, who is available to help you? The previous treasurer is available to me now. And when will each action be completed? I would probably try to maintain the budget, whenever someone pays, um, or whenever something needs to be paid for. And in terms of materials and resources, just the stuff that the previous treasurer has given me so far. I can look through his materials and yeah, then check the Toastmasters website for any other questions, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Thank you. All right. So as we mentioned, there are several resources to help you as treasurer. You're already doing the first one, which is the district sponsored club officer training. There are also materials on the Toastmasters International site, which I will share those links, but a couple are the club leadership handbook and the distinguished club program and club success plan. You can also, as we discussed, meet with the outgoing treasurer or meet with any of the outgoing executive team, meet with the current executive team, review policies and protocol, and prepare a budget. I suppose that does help in the long run. Some clubs will require it, some will not. And yeah, if this is your first time as treasurer, I do highly recommend asking the previous treasurer to meet with you either once, twice, or on a regular cadence to help you get acclimated to your role. Most former officers are more than happy and more than willing to help get you comfortable in your new role. Uh, the I think, as both Vicky and Derek mentioned, the outgoing treasurer should have everything you need for records, whether that's physical documents, like Vicky mentioned, the box, or a shared cloud folder, like Derek mentioned with the Google Drive. If your club has a bank account, you will likely need to all, I believe it's the president, the secretary, the outgoing treasurer, and the incoming treasurer will need to go to the bank to sign over the accounts. So make sure that I would imagine that that's already been done by this point, but definitely a good thing to check with your club. And as for record keeping system, also used a I used an Excel sheet to keep track of every member who paid dues for each term. I also kept track of all of I kept a sheet for each budget at the beginning, and then also kept track of expenses that we would use throughout the year with notes of when they need to be paid and who needs to be paid for them. And if you don't have a system now, definitely check with your outgoing treasurer. Right. So here are those Toastmasters International links. I will put them in the chat. And that is the end. I think I was fast and I'm don't know if I should apologize for that, but hopefully in these 30 or so minutes, you learned the role and responsibilities of the treasurer. As a recap, the responsibilities include managing the club bank account, collecting and submitting dues, keeping accurate records, and preparing a budget. During the main session with Pat, that's not what I meant to do. During the main session with Pat, we talked about transferable skills. So serving as treasurer will improve your accounting and organizational skills, especially with regards to receiving and managing money, preparing budgets, keeping accurate records, and disbursement of funds. And, all right. Does anybody have questions? All right, I won't force it.
No, thank you very much.
No problem. I just put another link in the chat. It is the feedback form that goes to district. So please fill that out. It's also the link that Patrick shared before we broke out into rooms. All right. With that, I will end the recording and say good night.